Hi, Jill and Phil. Thank you so much for coming on Ambition Theory Women in Construction. Welcome. I am honored that you're here today and to share your story about how transformational leadership is helping you grow Verge Technologies. First off, Jill, can you introduce yourself and tell us about your role within the company?
Sure. My name is Jill Tremblay. I am in charge of a couple different things at the company. I do all the purchasing and AP, AR, and I run the warehouse as well for the company.
Cool. And what do you like most about working in the construction industry?
It's something different every day, and I think that's what I really enjoy about it. It's just every job is different. It can be a small project or a large project, but everything's a little different, and I think that that's what I like about it the most.
Okay, cool. And we're going to talk later about kind of your previous career in the hotel industry. And I think that's probably a theme that kind of carried through for you.
For sure.
Phil, how about you? Can you introduce yourself and tell us what you do at Verge?
Sure. Obviously, my name's Phil, and I work at Verge, and I'm the vice president and COO here. So right now, I do everything operations. Jill and I work closely together when it comes to the purchasing side of things and stuff in the warehouse. But I do all the scheduling and ensure all the techs get on site with all their material, handle all the issues that arise on projects, and everything else in between.
And what do you love about working in construction?
I share Jill's sentiments that every day is different and there's lots of different challenges on all different levels. Depending on the type of project, we do a lot of service work as well. So there's always, everyone needs something done right away. And the challenge is always trying to fit all our customers in and provide great customer service to them.
Okay, thank you. And so I am so curious because neither of you started out in the construction industry. And Jill, I'd love it if you can start and tell me how this all happened and how you got into the industry.
Yeah, so I started in hotels when I was 15 years old. So I went to college for hotel management. I worked at 6 different properties in our city, from low end to high end properties and every position in between, from front desk to housekeeping right up to general manager of a small property in our city. And I found myself not loving the industry for after a long time there. So I wanted to try something different. And I spoke to a recruitment specialist who made me look at my transferable skills and kind of broke down what my experience in the hotel gave me that would lead me to positions outside of the hotel and hospitality industry. And from there, we kind of talked about the purchasing that I've done and the accounting that I've done, and that led me to broadening my horizon and applying for jobs that I never would have even thought to apply for before. And by doing that, it introduced me to Verge Technologies, and I applied for the job and got a call pretty much immediately. We did talk about those transferable skills because it's a lot of stuff that I've done. It's just when you look at a hospitality or hotel industry or restaurant industry, you're purchasing stuff, but you might be purchasing bed sheets or you might be purchasing key cards for a guest room or along those lines. And then when you get into the construction industry, you're still just purchasing stuff and it's just learning the new industry and the new terminology, but all that's provided to me.
I'm really curious. I want to go back a little bit. What was missing, right? Because it sounds like the hotel industry, it was your home base like for so long and you did really well there. So what was the thing that was missing that made you kind of not love it as much as you did before?
I got to I want to say I got to the pinnacle of my career. I got to the general manager role, which is kind of when you're in that industry and you're in the management and you're in sales and you get to a certain level, you're now the boss and you're everybody's boss. And I had no colleagues anymore. I had no people that I can go for lunch with. And I really miss that interaction and having colleagues and people that I could talk to. And the stress level got really high too when you get to that position. It's something that I had strived for literally my entire life. And I got there and I didn't enjoy it, which is too bad. And then I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that, but the weight that was lifted off my shoulders when I got into this role in this position, and even as more things get added on to my plate here, I feel so much more confident in what I do here every day.
Wow, so it's really like that team aspect of it that was missing in those peers, and that being part of like that bigger thing was missing. Because it sounds like your job, it's like it didn't get easy by switching industries.
Yeah.
Okay, but that challenge, like you said, like you love a new challenge every single day. Oh, thank you so much for sharing that, Jill. Phil, how about you? How did you end up in the construction industry?
So, yeah, so my background, when I started off my career, I was in operations for a bit. I managed a help desk, over 50 direct reports. And then that help desk was closing, and I got an opportunity to get into business IT consulting. So I did that for 13, 14 years. And then I was kind of yearning to get back into the operations side of things. And I got a phone call from the president here and asked me if I wanted to come into this world in this realm. And it was kind of in my head, I was thinking, okay, well, I like that fast paced operations side of things. And I was looking for a change. So I kind of just jumped in with both feet. And I think, what sort of aligned well here is that what Mike was looking for was kind of a bit of a white collar approach into a blue collar world. And that was a challenge that I kind of wanted to take on and try to, take some of the skills that I have in the consulting world and put them into the construction.
And you don't just work there, right? Like you're an owner in the company. So it was like you like fully committed to this industry when you jumped in, right?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, I totally I got the phone call and this opportunity came up, and I was at the point in my life where I did want business ownership and I wanted to be in operations. And when that phone call came in, it was kind of like the light bulb went off in my head. I said, if I don't take this opportunity of these things that I'm thinking I want, then I'll live with regret of not jumping in with both feet and making this whole, it is a strange feeling sometimes when you kind of just put the brakes on a 10 plus year career and say, I'm going to do something completely different and go for it. And that's here I am.
Okay, I love it. You went for it. And here we are today talking about transformational leadership in the construction industry. So, Phil, you clearly did not have a lot of experience or any experience in construction. I find that really interesting though that the president like already valued could see for whatever reason could see the skills that you brought to the table. So what do you think some of those skills are, because the industry knowledge really like you were not able to at the beginning bring that to the table. So what do you think it was that that president said, I need that skill set in
I
the
think a lot of it came down to relationship building and just building strong teams and relationships with people to get the work done. Because in our company, we have a lot of highly skilled technicians. So it wasn't, I don't think the need was there to come in and say, okay, you're going to come in and teach these people how to do their jobs. It's how am I going to be able to come in and complement those people in motivating them to get their work done and staying organized and putting in new processes that will help the organization and help our technicians. So for me and our mentality in the office, Jill and I kind of follow is every action that we do, it's to support the field. So those skill sets, I think he saw in me that I have an analytical kind of mindset, and that would translate into this world. And also the ability, or like one of our long term plans is to kind of have some consultancy services, professional services provided, which is something that's sort of lacking in our trade. And our trade is in the sub trade side of things. And I think that there is a shift starting where there's a lot more value in the technical expertise from our office and the quoting and helping out organizations, because a lot of times where we play and the sphere that we play in is sort of an afterthought of the giant trades of, electrical. They go in and they do their things. No disrespect to the people that are kind of architecturally quoting in our industry, but sometimes there are aspects that are overlooked and we have those expertise in house. we want to showcase those expertise. So having that skill set that I have in my background really can kind of spark that flame and work and make inroads to help other industries and help other customers out with what we can provide them.
Oh, I love that. And so can you actually back it up a little bit and tell me exactly what Verge delivers?
So essentially, we provide low voltage cabling, security services, and professional audiovisual in commercial space. So our motto is, and our kind of our why statement is, we want to help people compete better. So what we do and the moves that we make are going to help our customers and the customer base succeed. So a really good example is how many times have you gone into a meeting where the technology is not working, or people spend, it's an hour long meeting and 20 minutes of that meeting is trying to figure out how to use the technology and get Andrea on the Zoom call, and how frustrating that is. And you leave that meeting thinking, geez, I don't even remember what happened in that meeting. It's just that experience was just so bad. That's all that really resonates, where we want to strive and provide, technology services to companies to alleviate that stress so that they can just come into a boardroom, hit a button, and everyone's online, everything's working. And same with security passes, camera systems, all of that stuff. We want to stay on the cutting edge. And we also want to, as much as we say, hey, we want to provide the highest end equipment, the highest end technology, we want to be able to come in through any size organization, small, medium, or large, and provide them with the best solution that fits their budget and fits their needs. So we like to go in, we like to do some analysis with people. Again, my skill set helps out with that as well. And conduct needs analysis and say, what is it that you're really trying to do? As opposed to someone says, I was in such and such a boardroom and all this cool technology was in it. I want all that technology. Well, sometimes you don't need all that technology. And instead of just saying, okay, yeah, we'll gladly accept this, all your money, and give you all this technology, but it's overkill. So we want to come in and provide you with the services that best help your business, and not give you everything under the sun that some people say you need. We say, okay, we try to understand your business and really build that relationship with you so that it's more of a partnership. And then you can trust us to give you, you call me and you want an honest opinion on something, and we're going to give that to you. And I think that's what sets us apart from start to finish. I mean, our sales team and our technical design team do a great job at doing that and providing those services. And then when Jill and I step in on these projects, we want to keep that cohesion with our customers, where you had such a great experience from the start. Now you're off to operations, and, you know, we're really happy, or I'm very happy to have Jill on my team, because she's so highly organized that when orders come in, we know where the order stands. We know I'm able to communicate with the client and say the material is, X number of days or X number of weeks, depending on supply chain issues. But at least we can be upfront and honest with our clients and really just manage that relationship with them. So we really have a lot of focus on the customer service. And I really think that that's what sets us apart from other people, is providing that to our customers.
That's really cool. So I interviewed someone a couple weeks ago, and she is in business development for a construction company. And she was talking about like the future of work and really like looking at office design from that perspective. Like, what do people actually need? So I love that you said that, like, just because it looks cool doesn't mean you need it. And it's like, it sounds like you guys are going in and like where you kind of want to go is like really understanding, like, how are people going to be using this? Like, how can we really set up this client for success? So this idea of that consulting service, that consulting arm, I think there's something there, because Jennifer Cross, I'll put the link to this episode in the show notes, but she was talking about the future of work, and that's how we really need to think about design and like getting people in the office and making the experience amazing and user friendly. And I love everything that you said about kind of making it all about the client, because 100% I've been there, right? It's like, yeah, I was trying. There was a moment where I was like supposed to be on the Teams call once, and the IT team. There's a huge team of people. This was like for a big company, and it wasn't working. And their backup plan was to just call me on the phone or for me to come in just like on a phone call. And like the quality of delivery, it's really not that great. The audio quality on a phone versus like through the internet is not that good. And it was just like the most extremely stressful situation when they couldn't get me on there. And so I'm like, if they could just make it so simple and have, like, a plan, and I think, like, when it starts from the beginning, from construction, right? It's simple. From day one, it's not like, "Okay, we gotta hear, don't touch it. Now you gotta take the special training, and now you need all this." If you can, like, really focus on the user and how it's gonna be used, I love that you bake that into your business and it's, like, part of your service, so thank you for sharing that. Phil, I'm really curious because when you were hiring the team, so you don't have that construction background, but you're really bringing those relationship, that business side, that operations expertise to the table. And then when it was time to find, kind of grow the team, instead of looking for someone who, did a similar role at a different construction company, you found Jill, who was working in the hospitality, like hotel industry. What was it that made you say, Jill, I need to bring her
I think
onto the
it
team?
and I think it was those transferable skills. So when I looked at Jill's resume, I immediately what jumped out to me is that this is a highly organized individual that can handle multiple tasks and multiple things thrown at them. And then when I talked to Jill, she said, I'm looking for a career change. Obviously, I just went through a career change at that time. And so I said to her, we started talking about things and said, don't sell yourself short. Just to what Jill was saying, you have all of these skill sets that are so transferable into our organization that I would rather take someone who's so highly organized. And, you know, I thought that Jill would be a great fit with the team. I could tell right from the time we were talking that she had a great personality. The stuff she wanted to be kind of aligned or sorry, with that relationship building and that relationship, that craving of the relationship. That's what we really wanted on our team. Like we really like to do things together as a company. I mean, it's not like we're hanging out on the weekend with each other all the time, but I mean, we have barbecues, we do team building things within the office, the odd time Friday afternoon, we'll play a game that has nothing to do with construction at all, just to do some team building. And I think, at Christmas time we did axe throwing. And it's just I want people in our organization that want to work here. And again, people don't have to say this is the greatest place on earth because, there's times where work is never going to be the greatest all the time, but to be able to have informed discussions around things slicked and just having that type of personality, especially in the whole hotel industry where, there's irate customers. You're going to have to deal with the staffing issues, people showing up. To me, it was seemed very transferable. And I always looked at Jill as someone that's going to come on and take on all the roles, many hats that she wears now and progressing into the company of doing other things within operations. And because of her background, she'd be able to train whoever is going to be there because in her old world, she probably had to do that as she moved up the ranks.
Oh, I love
Right.
this. Okay. Literally, you're describing like transformational leadership. So it's so, and I mentioned there, we talk about kind of like this leadership spectrum of transactional, which is really that top down, more like that skills based, right? Like, I am the boss. I'm going to teach you how to do your job, which literally you did not do at all, Phil, because you actually didn't know how to do the jobs of your technicians. And Jill, even for you in the hotel industry, like, I think you were like, you were probably had these skills since you were 15, right? Like, you said you went in, I did housekeeping, I did the front desk, I worked in the restaurant, like you did everything. And so you become this generalist, but what you do have is like you kind of build this ability to motivate people, to communicate, to troubleshoot, to like rally the team, get people to get stuff done. And she really shared that vision, especially in hospitality, right? When you want to have that excellent customer service. So you literally, I think, have been working on these skills and honing them and sharpening that saw since you were 15. And I don't think you realize that this was like a special skill set that
I
made
didn't.
you
I really didn't realize.
really unique. And so you took our leadership accelerator, and there was a moment we were and I remember this so clearly. We were in a group coaching call, and you had your texting Phil.
I was literally texting Phil what we were doing because it was like a light bulb went off above my head. And I'm like, that's what it's called. That's what I've done my whole life. And my leadership skill has a name, which I didn't realize. I thought it kind of flipped things over for me.
So tell me what it felt like to have that moment.
It was awesome. It made me feel more confident in my leadership abilities because there is a specific type of leadership that I have and that transformational leadership that I do. I can see it now going back into when I worked in hotels and back in that, when I used to hire the staff there and I used to put a lot of focus on not hiring for skill set. And I used to hire for personality and I used to hire for and have those people that I could really build up and work a lot with and encourage them a lot. And I think that's why I succeeded as well as I did in that industry. And so being able to carry that over here now and try and incorporate that into what I do here was just it's nice to be able to see that, be able to transition over here too.
Okay, so I'm really curious what it's like, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but usually, like from my experience, the dominant leadership style in construction. So I'm thinking about the other companies that you work with, because you can't finish a construction project on your own, right? Like you're always working with other companies, and the more common leadership style is transactional. So I'm curious what it's like for you to work with some of these transactional leaders.
Is that a Jill question or a Phil?
It's a Jill question. I want to know for your perspective, Jill.
Well, I think that I bring a lot of positivity to it. So when we're talking about projects and we're talking about different things that we're doing on a day to day, or we're kind of following up on meetings and stuff like that, just making sure that it's a positive interaction. We know where everything's going. We are very, very organized in the way that we do things, which helps a lot. And just keeping that flow of conversation going between all the different departments and all the different aspects of it.
So is it like I'm just like maybe you don't even notice. I think maybe like you're this transformational leader and they follow your lead, right? So they're more collaborative because you set the stage. They're more communicate. Is that maybe what's going on?
I don't know. I hope so.
Phil, I wonder if you have any observations on this. And maybe like the companies you work with, they have like more of that transformational approach. And maybe they're
I
not
think for
sure.
us, Jill's point is just good communication. So I think for us, in a lot of cases, we get squeezed at the end. So a lot of our projects are, if it's on the structured cabling side, we come in at there is a component, like a massive component we do at the start during kind of full blown construction. And then once painting and everything else is done, we have to come back in and do the plating and do cabling through furniture. And, if they're doing displays in a conference room, same with security, with cameras and door access. So I think for us, it's very important for us to communicate well with the other trades as well. Like what Jill and I do is to keep on top of things is we meet every week and we go through all of our projects and we talk through all of the material needs, talk through where everything is, and then communicate with the trades and or our customers. So I think for us is just staying as organized as possible and being very communicative with everybody involved helps. I think Jill being so organized with the material and all the other stuff, I think that that's how she achieves. I think what you're trying to ask her is she's on top of things so much that it doesn't give people an opportunity to be lax in other areas. So we're always on top of where we are and what we need to do. It really makes a big difference.
Oh, that's another trait of transformational leaders, like holding people to a higher standard. So it's like something that I think it's like, Jill, you're doing these things every day and you probably had no idea until that moment that you were actually doing these things. So I'm really curious about the impact. So now you kind of know, like, okay, this is the kind of impact that my leadership style can have. What have you noticed since you've kind of had this moment, or have you ever been able to like leverage it in a different way?
I think that just going I feel like I need to take advantage of that knowledge a little bit more, and I think that that's something that Phil and I are working towards being able to utilize those tools a little bit more now, but I can the way I'm using it is going back and looking and kind of in what I've done in the past and how am I gonna bring that a little bit more forward into an industry that I don't know, besides the knowledge that I've gotten for the last 2 years, I don't have that background in it, so it's just giving me a little bit more encouragement and I think confidence in my ability to take on more tasks in this industry and to really feel like I'm a part of the industry as well. Because until I took this course and until I worked with all these wonderful women that we met over the last few months, you know, I, to me, I was just an office worker. I didn't even acknowledge that I worked in the construction industry. And I even talking about that, I brought it up to my 14-year-old the other day that I was having an interview on women in construction. And he's like, "You don't work in construction." And I'm like, "Actually, I do," because I work in an office. So even to them, I was just an office person. So it's just giving me a lot more confidence in what I do, just in the day-to-day aspect of this industry.
And that's really interesting that you're so like, even like like you never really considered yourself to belong as a part of this industry. And I think that's a huge misconception in that like you have to be like swinging a hammer all day
Yeah,
long to work in
absolutely.
construction. But the industry is so complex. It's like employs so many people. There's so much opportunities there. So tell me about like why do you think you like what's different now for you now that you have this sense of belonging and you're a part of this.
I think honestly, just having that confidence to know that I can take on more roles here and to be like, I don't necessarily have that background of swinging a hammer, but I have the background of the leadership and of the organizational and of the encouraging a team. All of those skills that I have that I can now bring. Okay, well, maybe Jill can take over this little portion of what Phil does to take stuff off of his plate so he can focus more on here, which is something that I think I didn't have the confidence or not that I didn't have the knowledge, but I didn't have the confidence to take that on before, but it's something that we can move towards more now of Jill doing stuff like that because I can acknowledge that I have those abilities that I didn't think I did.
Yeah. So, so you talked about confidence. Any other benefits from this moment where you realize like like it's such a valuable skill set that I had you like
Well, I
anything
think just
else?
honestly to feel like I'm more involved in the company too, which again, like to me, prior to having that the confidence and the knowledge of the role that I can now look and go, okay, well, I can get more involved in certain aspects that I wouldn't have necessarily got more involved in before. Because again, in my head, I was at the time just another office person. But now that I'm feeling more involved in the company and I know that there is different things that I can do. Like, do I want it? I love working for these guys. I can see myself here for a very, very long time, but am I going to do the exact same thing for the next 25 years? Probably not. So this at least opens up different doors for me within Verge.
Have
And
any
if I can just jump in for a second, I think that confidence, Jill, really helps. It resonates throughout the whole company because like you've made that warehouse, the warehouse out back your own. And you don't take crap from anybody, whether or not it's AP, AR, any of that stuff. Because you have that confidence, you can back it up and you have taken over the warehouse and organize it to the point where when the technicians come in, if they don't do something, they'll even say to me, like, Jill's going to be in touch with me. It's like, yep, she is going to be in touch with you, right? Like no, no F's given. It's like, don't mess with the process that I have set up and make sure you're doing it right. And
It just makes the company work better. Like when you have a good process and a strong leader in those processes, your whole company runs more smooth.
yep,
so has anything come up? I'm really curious, Jill. Has there anything come up for you that's been like this is that's been a challenge because you take that transformational leadership approach and you don't have that technical expertise. So it's really hard to be that kind of command and control top down leader because you don't really know what you don't know everyone's job, right? Like
You know what? I
top of
find,
that.
especially with the team that we have here, that if there's something that I don't understand, they're always happy to explain it to me. And as I've gotten more confident over the years, I say the years, it's been two, but as I've gotten more confident and actually been able to say, well, how does this part work? What does this part do? And then how does this part A work with part B? And the guys will explain, I say guys, our technicians will explain it to me. We do have female technicians too, not just guys. But because I have that confidence and I know what this part is, and I order 17,000 of these parts a month, and now I know what it actually does. So it helps me do that as well.
So we had another transformational leader who was like new to the construction industry, and she talked about her like magic skill was she's like, I need to have a little tiny bit of knowledge about a lot of things in the industry, just enough to ask a question. Does that philosophy like resonate with you? I'm so curious.
Yeah, probably. I think to know not necessarily what the part does, but what part of the industry. Is this an AV product? Is this a cabling product? Is this a security product? So even just having that minor knowledge in regards to the different, but of course, now that I've been in this role for 2 years, especially the purchasing portion of the role, which is what I initially started at, I do recognize, I know the vendors and the suppliers. So I know now right away, okay, well, if I'm ordering a part like this and this is the name of it and this is the color of it, then it's for this portion of what we do. So having that knowledge, so it is like if there's a little portion of every part that I know, then that would probably be it because I recognize all the different vendors and brands and systems and stuff like that now.
Okay. And can you talk about Phil and Jill, both of you, kind of what's the growth that you've seen? So you've both been in the company. So Phil, you joined first, right? And Jill joined quickly after. So what growth has happened in the company since you've really like Phil, you came in with kind of like that white collar perspective to the construction industry. And then you brought on Jill to really like lean into those transformational leadership skills, have that culture of collaboration and communication and customer service. What's happened over the past 2 years?
I think from my standpoint, we just brought a lot of structure in place. When I came over, there were times where we weren't overly sure, where we were going and where material was and where people were supposed to be on job sites, if job sites were finished. Just a little bit of unorganization and what Jill and I together, I think, have done is put a layer of, I guess, the theme of this podcast seems to be, well, not only just transformational leadership, but what we've been talking as organization and the strong communication side of things. So, getting in touch with our clients, ensuring that our clients, know that we're coming, if there are delays in material, getting out front of it instead of hoping that maybe that product or part will come in the day of and we're able to do it. If we know things aren't going to be, if they've all of a sudden been delayed, we're reaching out to customers. Just being able to really stand up the operations department, whereas like I was saying before, I think it was just kind of all over the place. And at times we were letting our development team and our sales team sort of dictate to us, oh, we've scheduled someone to come in on this day with we may not have the resources. So right away we just kind of stepped in and just put just some, I guess, organizational leadership in place. And then it really just came down to building trust with two of us being people that didn't have that background. It is difficult to build trust with on a technician base and operational base because, you know, they're trying to rely on the office with knowledge. And well, again, I don't feel like I necessarily needed to have all the answers because we have a technical design group that they can really help us out as well. But I just did things like I just went out and did project work. I just put my steel toe boots and hard hat on and went out in the field and kind of did similar when Jill's asking the questions. My technician or our technician base, was always great to explain things to me and help me along the way to gain that knowledge and kind of bridge that gap. I mean, I still have lots to learn. We have millions of products and team that we quote on different jobs because every job is custom. So you don't get as many standardized things and standardized clients. So yeah, I think it's just structure was the big thing, structure and organization. And then that other pillar of communication and my philosophy of it's always the more little things we can do right will put us ahead of our competitors. So really focused on identifying those small little gaps where, I mean, I obviously didn't work for another company, but I've, the clients we've dealt with and the conversations I had, I asked for honest feedback, give me the good, bad, and the ugly because I want to make this organization better. So if there's things that we've done wrong on projects, I want to know about them. Probably people just pick up the phone anytime, give me a call. If there's something not going right on the project, or if you're not happy with the work or anything, let me know. And I've been fortunate enough that some of our clients are some people I've met over the years in the city, and that's helped where I can call them and say, okay, you know, give me, you don't have to be on the record, but just give it to me straight. Like no one's getting fired from our company, but I want to be able to improve on those little things. So I'd say that kind of those three kind of pillars have been my mandate here.
So Jill, I'm really curious about the influence, right? Because it's one thing to like have the structure, have the operations that you talked about, Phil, but you're the one like there, like day to day, working with all the people. How did you actually influence them to like want to buy into this system?
I think just having that clear cut, this is what we're going to do, and being confident in what we set up, just from the organization of how we order things and bring things into the warehouse. And if Phil and I and are confident in the way that we implement different systems to the technicians and to our team who brings it back to our customers, then it'll make a big difference in how they feel about it. So we've implemented, I can't even tell you how many different systems in the last 2 years here, and being a newer company as well. So some of it we're almost starting from scratch with. So because we're confident in those processes that we do, and a lot of the times too, bringing it back to our team and saying, okay, well, what's working, what's not working. Is there a way that we can fix this to make it work better so it works for everybody that's here, and listening to the feedback from everybody that we work with as well. So that's helped a lot.
Okay, cool. So one thing, so neither of you worked in construction before. And Jill, even from your perspective, you worked in construction for like almost 2 years and you never really felt like you belonged in that industry. And we all know like there is a labor shortage that for every kind of role in construction. And the career opportunities are pretty incredible. Like there's really cool jobs, there's really cool things you can do. What do you think needs to happen to like shift that mindset so that more women are open or aware of the opportunities in construction?
I think it's just to put that knowledge out there, and whether it's the different provincial construction associations or the different ways that companies themselves promote when positions are available within construction, because it really comes down to people hear construction, they think hard hats and hammers. And there is so much more within the construction industry that people aren't aware of. My whole life, I have an aunt who her and her husband run a construction company in the next province over, and even to me, she didn't work in the industry because she was in the office. And I think it's just perception in general of those roles that we need to get rid of. It's still construction, and even teaching my son yesterday that yes, mom works in the construction industry because he sees that hard hat and hammer thing, which is not the case. Probably 50% of the people that work in this industry are not out on job sites, if not more.
Yeah, totally. Phil, do you have any ideas?
I think awareness would be probably the top thing, just to echo what Jill is saying of just trying to understand those roles and sort of, you know, break down some of the gender norms. Like I think there are some women who do want to put a hard hat on and do that as well. And I think there is becoming more and more of a paradigm shift where it's a little bit easier to come into the construction world just based on getting rid of some of those old norms of it's just a male dominated kind of misogynistic side of things. And, first thing I do if I hire a technician, a female technicians, I sit them down and I just want to let them know that it's a safe space here to, if there's any issues, if there's one thing that happens on a job site that you're not comfortable, I want to know about it right away so that I can reach out to that job site because that's not something that we tolerate here. So I think just awareness and having companies that promote it as well, that, that it's a welcoming environment. And like I said with Jill, like knowing that there's other positions and other roles that aren't necessarily, tool based is big.
Cool. Thank you. So we always end the episode with a 24-hour action that people can take to apply what they're learned. So Jill, since you've taken coaching with us, we always end every coaching call with a 24-hour action. So I'm wondering if you can share one of yours with the audience right now from the course, and then we can unpack together how people can do something about that kind of like right away to help them kind of move themselves forward.
So one of the, of course, like the big day that the light bulb went off that I learned about my transferable skills and my transformational leadership stuff, like setting up that meeting right away. And, I pretty like when that went off and I said, fill the text right from our course. And I said, we need to talk about this like as soon as I'm done here. And that's what we did. We went in and we talked about it right away. So I think that making sure you give yourself that time to follow up on any of those little tasks when you're into, whether it's your course, Andrea, or it's another course that somebody else takes. If you have that follow up, give yourself the time to actually have those conversations right away.
So I'm curious, Phil, how did it land? Like, did you know, like when Jill started talking about transformational leadership, did you already know like what she was talking about? Tell me how that went.
Yeah, I remember that day because Jill was beaming. She came in my office. She did text me, but then she came in my office and told me all about it. And I was familiar with that. And then, I mean, it's always been a thought of what else could Jill do here, but her coming in and showing the enthusiasm and the drive to want to do other things in the company, I said, okay, well, let's sit down and what do you like? I kind of not threw it back at her, but said, well, what do you want to do with this company? Like, what can I help you?
Yeah.
Where do you want to move? Where do you see yourself? So let's start brainstorming. Let's set some goals and let's get a plan together. I think we talked about it today, but just the timing of this podcast of let's revisit this conversation we had a couple months ago and just I don't want to lose sight of if someone's enthusiastic about moving up and taking on more responsibility, let's foster that. Like, where do you want to go? Do we want to take small steps? Can I give you smaller, like break off smaller pieces and see if you like that? Then take on more things. Or do you want to carve out a different role and we move someone else into doing some of the other hats that you're wearing? Like, what does that look like? And what's the timeline? So we've definitely had those conversations and they've all been super positive. And it gets me really excited because, I have ideas and I have thoughts and things that I want to do here. Having someone that kind of wants to jump in and be on board or we're on the similar wavelengths. I like that Jill challenges decisions that I make. I've always wanted to be, like I say to everyone in the company, of like, if I make a decision, it doesn't work. It doesn't mean it's the final decision.
I
I,
never challenge you, Phil. I don't know what you're talking about. Just never,
okay,
never.
we'll just pretend that didn't happen, but I don't never take that in a bad way whatsoever. Jill and I can challenge each other, call it whenever you want. And then at the end of the day, or right afterwards, it's not like I come back in my office and I'm like, that was why would Jill ever question anything I say? It's like I looked at it as I'm happy that Jill's challenging this because it's where her mindset is this isn't just Jill's agenda. This is I have the company's best interests in mind, and so do I. So when we both have that and we both can kind of brainstorm and talk things through, it's like maybe something else comes from it that we didn't even the start of the conversation wasn't even about that. And a new idea started or a new direction that we want to go in. I love it. I like that challenge.
Okay, I love this. Like when you have two transformational leaders working together, it's like the magic really happens, right? You have those above the line conversations. You can really move things forward. So I'm wondering if we could put like all of our heads together and come up with a 24-hour action for someone who wants to lean into their transformational leadership skills, but their manager is a more traditional transactional top down style. And how could they approach this conversation? Like, thinking about a way to, like, get that transactional leader to just open up their mind to a different style of leadership.
I think that they should just take a small task, something that's small, and chunk it off and own that process. And then that kind of shows that leader, the traditional leader, that hey, someone has taken that initiative to do this and made it their own. And whether or not it's a spin on something or they put their own, it would be great if they could take that small little piece and put their own spin on it and show that it's either increases productivity or efficiency or something else. It's hard in my top of my head. It's hard to think of one little thing, but there is always in organizations tons of what we call low hanging fruit that I think someone could just take that small little piece of fruit and kind of own it. And then it kind of opens the eyes to a leader. And I think sometimes people don't think that a leader is paying attention to those small things, but they definitely are. From my perspective, if the little things are the things that make the biggest difference.
I love that. So just find like a little bite-sized thing that you could like really lean into your transformational leadership skills and then show the transactional leaders like what the benefits are. And that I think opens up their mind and opens up the conversation to more of these transformational skills. I love that action. Thank you, Phil. So Jill, how do people connect with you and learn more about Verge Technologies?
So we are online. So www.vergetechnologies.ca, vergetechnologies.ca, which I have to say very clearly as I talk on the phone with a lot of people. We're on LinkedIn and have lots of great information out there on our company. I'm very, very happy to work with the team that we have here. And I'm just excited to see, even in the last 2 years, where we've gone and where we're going to go down the road, because we've got a great group and we're expanding and growing every day. It's amazing to see.
Amazing. And can people connect with you on LinkedIn?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I'll put your link in the show notes. And Phil, how do people connect with you? Is LinkedIn the best?
LinkedIn is the best. Yeah, we also have an Instagram account, Verge Technologies as well. I also just want to take a quick opportunity to thank you for having us on the podcast. It was great to chat and like I said, I'm super proud of Jill and all the work that she does here and very much valued every day.
Oh, thank you for sharing your story, this incredible story of like really what happens of like a real life case study of transformational leadership in construction and the value that outside experience really can bring to the industry and really level it up with new ideas and new ways of doing things. And it's not a barrier that you haven't worked in construction before. I think really helping break that down. Literally, this conversation did that today. So thank you so much for being on this podcast.
Thanks again, Andrea.
Thank you.